CBS News Tonight. CBS's Nicole D'Antonio reports from Washington.
Former President Donald Trump said Thursday he has been indicted over his handling of sensitive government documents. Sources tell CBS News that the multi-count indictment is connected to the allegedly unlawful retention of national defense information and obstruction of government efforts to retrieve them. Trump posted on social media Thursday that he has been ordered to appear at a federal courthouse next Tuesday and released a video discussing the matter.
It's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax, just like Russia, just like the fake dossier was a hoax.
The former president has denied any wrongdoing in the case.
There's really not much legally that could potentially help him by saying this is going to happen. I mean, all of this is political. All of this is so that he can frame the narrative. We can hear it from him first, and his supporters will continue to be told this is a witch hunt. This is all the political weaponization of the Department of Justice.
In a statement, Trump said, quote, "I never thought it possible that such a thing could happen to a former president of the United States who received far more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country and is currently leading by far all candidates, both Democrat and Republican, in polls of the 2024 presidential election. I am an innocent man." Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, Washington.
The indictment would make Trump the first president in U.S. history to face federal charges, and the first charges to arise from special counsel Jack Smith's investigations of the former president. The case adds to deepening legal jeopardy for Trump, who's already been indicted in New York and faces additional investigations in Washington and Atlanta that could also lead to criminal charges. An elected official in Letcher County was arrested tonight on a DUI charge. The Letcher County jailer confirms Stephen Dameron, who is the constable for Letcher County's 5th District, was pulled over by Kentucky State Police on Highway 805 near Jenkins. He was arrested shortly before 8:30 tonight and taken to the Letcher County Jail. An Eastern Kentucky coal mine and certified dust examiner were sentenced today for reportedly violating safety violations. Officials say Black Diamond Coal Company was sentenced for submitting false samples, and Walter Perkins was sentenced for lying to MSHA special investigators. In 2020, court documents say Black Diamond Coal submitted dust sampling results on October 6th and 7th, but the results were abnormally low and an investigation followed. Investigators say they went to the Black Diamond No. 1 mine in Floyd County and found the company's dust monitor on the floor of a first aid trailer. The monitor is supposed to be worn by an underground miner during a normal shift. Officials say Perkins lied to the investigators about the dust monitor. Black Diamond was fined $200,000 and sentenced to 2 years of probation. Walter Perkins of Harlan County was sentenced to 6 months in prison and 6 months in home detention. Senate Bill 150 is being addressed again by the Kentucky Department of Education. They say the updated guidance was designed to provide more clarity to school districts on the policies and parental notice required by Section 2 of the bill. KDE spokesperson Tony Constatman says the General Assembly chose to use the conjunction or, not and. So KDE guidance says schools can choose to ban either human sexuality instruction in grades 5 and below or instruction on gender identity and sexual orientation for all grades. Kentucky's first openly transgender elected official, Rebecca Blankenship, says she hopes the school districts in the state take into account the impact this could have on all children.
We know now that much of that bill seems to have been written on the back of a napkin in the middle of the night because there was no real serious effort to vet this.
The bill's sponsor, Senator Max Wise, responded to KDE's new guidance, calling it an absurd effort to skirt state law. Earlier today, state lawmakers discussed a bill that would lead to murder charges in drug overdose deaths. Sponsors of House Bill 388 say the bill is meant to get the conversation started. Police say they need more tools dealing with overdose deaths. They say they can currently only charge people who supply drugs with manslaughter. The Richmond police chief says the city is averaging 1 overdose death per week.
But I can only imagine how the parents feel when we tell them that the individual that caused their baby's death can only be charged with manslaughter and not murder. They just can't comprehend why it's any different.
A representative with the Department for Public Advocacy opposes the proposed bill. They say even someone unknowingly passing a marijuana joint laced with fentanyl could face a murder charge. Many of you will remember Pulaski County High School football player Andrew Dodson. The 17-year-old died on April 3rd after a head injury suffered during a scrimmage. My conversation with Andrew's dad, Alan, will air on Issues and Answers next week, but WYMT's Keaton Hall gives us a glimpse into how the pastor has leaned on faith through this tragedy.
Alan Dodson's life changed on March 31st when he got a call that his son was in the hospital.
The emergency room doctor was on the phone with me and said, "Mr. Dodson, this is very serious and you need to get home as soon as you can."
Alan's son Andrew was injured after a hit to the head during a Pulaski County High School football scrimmage. He died in the hospital on April 3rd.
Scripture does not tell the believer not to grieve.
Yeah.
We're going to grieve. It's a part of who we are. But we're not to grieve as those who have no hope.
Alan, who is a pastor, says he's relied on his faith, but has questioned why this would happen.
Some would try to be 10 foot tall and bulletproof in their faith, but I'm a dad, you know, and the most precious gifts that I've ever been given is, number one, outside of my salvation, is my wife and then my 2 sons.
After Andrew's death, support poured in for Dodson and his family. On April 7th, dozens of high schools and college football programs across the state, including Mark Stoops and the Wildcats, turned their stadium lights on for 80 minutes. 80 was Andrew's jersey number.
And yeah, it just said to us, Dodson family, we're supporting you, we love you, we're praying for you, we're doing this for Andrew.
Hoping his son will be remembered as he was on and off the field.
I don't want Andrew to be remembered because of the circumstances of his death, nor his age when he passed away. He was just the type of young man that everybody loved.
Now forever with his name in lights. Keaton Hall, WYMT Mountain News.
More than 4,000 people came to Andrew's visitation, and thousands more have watched his funeral on YouTube. You can watch my interview with Alan Dodson on Issues and Answers Monday night at 7 on WYMT. One Pike County Fire Department is saying goodbye to its assistant chief this weekend after he died in a car crash yesterday. The Marbone Volunteer Fire Department is preparing to hold a funeral for Brian Belcher, a family man who served his community for nearly 3 decades. Fire Chief Bubby Adkins had a heart attack during the weekend and says he last saw Brian Sunday as he was heading in for surgery, showing up as the true friend and fireman he was.
I looked over and there stood Brian. You know, he said, he spoke to me, and like I said, I was on my way to the cath lab, and he stayed with my family the whole time.
The department invites the community to pay its respects to the career public servant. You can see the arrangements on our website, WYMT.com. A longtime miner, mechanic, and volunteer firefighter in the Chaves area of Perry County has died. 71-year-old Don Duff was a volunteer firefighter with Lotts Creek, Chaves, Grapevine, and Krypton. He was a career miner and mechanic with a passion for jewelry making. Duff was also a member of the Mountain Arts Alliance. A visitation is set for 1 p.m. on Saturday at Maggart's Mountain View Chapel with a funeral service at 3 p.m.
Nice evening all throughout the region, but a cool one as well as we see that cool, dry air filter in thanks to high pressure to our north. The view from our Pikeville Medical Center camera at this hour. Quiet over the city at the moment. 63 the current temperature. A lot of us, it was a wonderful day today. Low to mid 70s just about everywhere. The exception, Wise, was only able to get to 64. I mean, it was an absolutely beautiful day out there. already seeing some low to mid 50s out there. 53 Irvine, 54 Manchester Hazard, 55 in London, or excuse me, in Harlan, 58 in London. We still see some temperatures hanging out in the 60s, but look at the upper 40s already in Southwest Virginia. It's a clean sweep on Pinpoint Doppler in your forecast first. As you head into the morning hours, it's going to be a cool one to start as you pour that breakfast cereal in the morning. Upper 40s to middle 50s as we head through the first few hours of the day with plenty of sunshine. Details on how long that sunshine sticks around in a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. A group of 41 people from Nebraska made a trip of more than 16 hours to eastern Kentucky to help people continue to rebuild after the July flood. The group is staying at Heinemann Methodist Church and has spent the past 4 days breaking out into 5 separate groups across the county to get as much work done as possible. They say they've been overwhelmed by the kindness of people here in the mountains.
The place I worked yesterday, the homeowner was working alongside us, and I just have felt very welcome, and we really appreciate that. And last night the church people cooked for us, so it's been a really fun place to be.
The Central Nebraska Mission Group says they hope to get opportunities to continue coming back and helping the folks here in eastern Kentucky. The city of Jackson bought a new rescue boat after receiving a grant from the USDA. The boat went to the Jackson Fire Department, and in addition to the boat, the team was able to buy a trailer and different supplies such as life vests, boots, gloves, and more. Firefighter Joshua Howard says they feel more prepared because they have learned from other rescue teams in the region.
Yeah, we're definitely more prepared. You know, like I said, we went from a 16-foot flat-bottom John boat to we have a Zodiac boat, we have the John boat, we have our rescue boat. And with them guys, you know, we keep in contact with them. We're continuously talking to them, learning. They've had years of experience in this because they're away from us. Like I said, you know, we live in the mountains. That's how it is.
Howard says the boat will be better in situations where they can use them in more rapid and swift bodies of water. Knott County and Perry County are working together to keep an ambulance service up and running in Knott County. At noon on June 16th, which is next Friday, the Perry County Ambulance Service will officially take over in Knott County. Perry County Judge Executive Scott Alexander says this is what neighboring communities are for, and some things may need a regional approach.
Yeah, we've been trying to tear down those walls that separates us from county to county and realizing that we're all in this together. And anytime we see a need, we've always been willing to try to step up and help.
The two counties will be working together for the next year while Knott County tries to find a permanent solution. Injuries and illnesses can often require immediate care to save someone's life. ARH President and CEO Holly Phillips says the first step to providing this care begins with emergency transport. WYMT's Jack Demler has more on a new service in Hazard that should help.
A new mode of medical transportation is ready to lift off in Perry County. With emergency medical staff shortages, the Air Evac Life team wanted to find more ways to help the community.
After all the floods, you know, that was a big wake-up call for us all as well. But we all wanted, what can we do? What can we do to better serve our communities?
That led them to Holly Phillips, the president and CEO of Appalachian Regional Healthcare.
She was really excited about maybe, well, let's do something in Hazard.
With the help of ARH, Air Evac was able to provide a customized helicopter. Regional Director Jamie Ward says it takes the Air Evac medical team about 15 minutes to get off the ground and anywhere in Perry County to give members of the community the medical attention they may need.
So when you have a traumatic accident or you need some specialized care, it takes a while to get there, and time is brain, time is heart muscle, you know. So these aircraft help us get patients from these rural communities to that definitive care much more quickly than you can on some of these, winding country roads around.
Some examples of injuries that require Air Evac response include car accidents, major trauma, cardiac issues, strokes, and other accidents. The aircraft is able to transport patients to and from ARH Medical Center. In Perry County, I'm Jack Demler, WYMT Mountain News.
Earlier today, Air Evac also received verification from the Kentucky Board of EMS for an aircraft in London to be in service. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, millions of Americans still breathing unhealthy air because of those Canadian wildfires. We'll talk with a climate expert on how to prevent the blazes.
And the beautiful weather continues as we bring the curtain down on the work week.